Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. For the Bhakti Vriksha program, in which a small group of devotees, led by a monitor, meet regularly and discuss different aspects of the philosophy. This Krishna conscious movement is a philosophical movement, not a sentimental movement. Our philosophy is based on the ancient Vedic scriptures, one of which is the Srimad Bhagavatam that I'm showing to you. Vyasadeva is described to be an incarnation of Godhead, and he appeared on the planet 5,000 years ago. 5,000 years ago marked the commencement of an age called the age of Kali. That's the age in which you are living at the moment. According to our Vedic philosophy, there are 4 principal ages: Satyuga, Tretayuga, Dwapara Yuga, and Kali Yuga. In Kali Yuga, by and large, people's memory gets weaker day by day. Where these days you often see these Ayurvedic producers advertising the Chyawanprash, improve your brain power by eating Chyawanprash. And then you can eat all the Chyawanprashas of the world, but the brain power will only improve maybe marginally, not much. So in Kali Yuga, people's memory is weak. In the previous ages, people may retain everything just by hearing once. They would hear the Shastra from the Guru once and retain everything in their mind. Their memory was so sharp. These days, our memories are getting weaker, isn't it? And these days, thanks to technology, that we are becoming so dependent on these calculators and computers that you can't even do simple mathematics without them. Am I right? I mean, devotees and professionals tell me, now we are so dependent on these calculators and computers, we can't even do simple mathematics. At least at one time they could do simple mathematics without the help of these machines. So, in Kali Yuga, people's memory gets weak and people become more quarrelsome, spiritually lazy. So Vyasadeva put the Vedic knowledge in writing. Previously, this knowledge is coming down through the oral process of hearing. And this has been recorded in various Vedic texts. Initially there was one Veda, Yajurveda, that got divided into 4 Vedas. Then there were the subsequent Vedas, the Puranas, Mahabharata, Ramayana, Vedanta Sutra. All these are compiled by one personality, namely Vyasadeva. And His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who is the founder Acharya of the society, whose murti you see over there, he endeavored to present these ancient Vedic texts to the entire humanity. So he worked day and night to translate several of these Vedic texts in English language. He translated nearly 100 of these texts in Vedic language. And these texts have been further translated in almost every major language of the world. French, German, Japanese, Chinese, Urdu, Farsi. I mean, we can't even, every major language of the world. So today we have the Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam in almost every major language of the world. ISKCON has a sister organization called the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust that is responsible for publishing and printing Srila Prabhupada's various books, and they have distributed over 450 million pieces of literature in the last 40 years. And they've distributed over 25 million copies of the Bhagavad Gita alone in various languages of the world. And people all over the world have found great solace in reading these books. So in these Bhakti Vriksha programs, we study these books in small groups, and by expanding our knowledge of the Shastra, Shastra means words of God. By expanding our knowledge of the Shastras, we become more convinced about what to do with the human form of life. We all need direction. There's a prayer that we often recite which says that we were born in ignorance. Is that right? We're all born in ignorance? Whether you're born in America or Canada, you're born in ignorance. When you're born, you don't know how to read, write, you don't know how to do anything virtually, isn't it? But then, as you grow older, you go through the educational system and you learn various trades, various abilities, you acquire various skills and increase your overall performance. But it all comes through what is known as an educational process. Now, we all believe in education, isn't it? Especially Indians, they're really up to education. If you go to the graduate study courses in America, you'll find more Indian and Chinese students than local American students. But unfortunately, they believe in material education and they often tend to ignore spiritual education. In the Sri Isha Parishad, it is said that one must cultivate material knowledge and spiritual knowledge side by side. And if we cultivate material knowledge and spiritual knowledge side by side, then your material knowledge will not be misused. Material knowledge is misused a lot today, isn't it? Scientific propensities are misused a lot, isn't it? How are the terrorists getting so active around the world? They know how to misuse scientific discoveries. So, if you have spiritual understanding, then you don't misuse whatever facilities or scientific abilities there may be. So therefore we need to cultivate material knowledge, spiritual knowledge also. And that is why in our ISKCON temples we have 2 educational classes every day, sometimes more, but at least 2. One in the morning where we study the Srimad Bhagavatam, and one in the evening where we study the Gita. And we recommend to devotees to study these books, because Prabhupada used to say, religion without philosophy is just sentiment. And religion, accompanied by philosophy, establishes a sound basis. Many people come to spiritual life without the philosophical understanding. So just as they come as fast, they go as fast. But if somebody studies these books carefully and regularly, then there's a good chance that he'll be convinced and he will stay on. Therefore, we distribute these books. Therefore, we encourage people to read these books. We have Bhakti in the libraries in almost all the temples, and we encourage people to study these books. So today, I'm going to read to you a verse from the first canto, chapter 13, text 22, chapter entitled Dhritarashtra Quits. So we have, program will be that we'll have a little discussion, philosophical discussion for some time. And after that, we're going to give out certificates to those who participate in the Bhakti Vriksha programs, which will be followed by some kirtan, am I right? And then prasad in the end. So please stay with us till the end. It's a spiritual program. So this verse is as follows. Andha pureva udhiro mandar pragata sampratam visinna tato mangani sarga kapam udvaham. Translation. You have been blind from your very birth, and recently you became hard of hearing. Your memory is shortened and your intelligence is disturbed. Your teeth are loose, your liver is defective, and you're coughing up mucus. Is that possible? Okay. So, I'll read the purport, Krishna Vaishnava Prabhupada. The symptoms of old age, which had already developed in the Dhritarashtra, were all one after another pointed out to him as warning that death was nearing very quickly, and still he was foolishly carefree about his future. The signs pointed out by Vidura in the body of the Dhritarashtra were signs of apaksha, a dwindling of the mature body before the last stroke of death. The body is born, it develops, stays, creates other bodies, dwindles and then vanishes. But foolish men want to make a permanent settlement on the perishable body and think that a state, children's society, country, etc. will give them protection. With such foolish ideas, they become overtaken by such temporary engagement and forget altogether that they must give up this temporary body and take a new one, again to arrange for another term of society, friendship and love, again to perish ultimately. They forget the permanent identity and become foolishly active for impermanent occupation, forgetting to altogether the prime duty. Since sages like Vidura approach such foolish men to awaken them to the real situation, but they take such sadhus and saints as parasites of society, and almost all of them refuse to hear the words of such sadhus and saints, although they welcome show bottle sadhus and so-called sadhus who satisfy their senses. Vidura was not a sadhu to satisfy ill-gotten sentiments of the Dhritarashtra. He was correctly pointing out the real situation of life and how one can save oneself from such catastrophes. So, this verse that we read to you is being spoken by Vidura to his brother, Dhritarashtra. Are all of you familiar with Dhritarashtra, who he was? Dhritarashtra was the father of the Kauravas. He was blind from birth, and it was his obstinacy that led to the battle of Kurukshetra. The battle of Kurukshetra was not a battle like the modern day battle, like Iraq war or something. It was fought for a religious purpose. It was a religious war. And in the battle, the Pandavas were victorious. They were victorious because they were all devotees of Lord Shri Krishna. It is said that Rakhe Krishna Marike, Mare Krishna Rakhe. Who Krishna wants to protect, no one can annihilate. And who Krishna wants to annihilate, no one can protect. So the battle of Kurukshetra was fought for establishing righteousness in society. And after the battle was over, Dhritarashtra was offered a very magnanimous facility to reside in by his nephew, Yudhishthira. Normally, in a mature situation, someone would have said tit for tat, because Yudhishthira and his brothers were victims of various plans conceived by Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana to annihilate the Pandava brothers. But because they were devotees of the Lord, fully dependent on the Lord, they were ultimately saved in every situation by the Lord. So Vidura here is seeking to enlighten his brother Dhritarashtra. Yudhishthira Maharaj, if he wanted, after the battle, he could have said, "Hey, now we won the battle, we're going to arrest you, we'll hang you." That's what someone would have done. But rather he went to his uncle and said, "I'm very sorry. You lost all your sons, grandsons in this battle. Now I want you to reside in this nice palace very comfortably. And Dhritarashtra was thinking, now at last I've got this very nice palace to reside in. And he was beginning to reside like a king and taking advantage of his nephew's hospitality. Vidura was his stepbrother. Vidura came to the palace and saw his brother living at the cost of hospitality of his nephews that he had tried to kill. So Vidura spoke verses to enlighten Dhritarashtra that he was being very foolish, that even in his old age, thinking that he can live like a king. Vidura says, you were blind from birth. So Dhritarashtra, as you know, was blind from birth. He would have become the king, but because he was blind, his younger brother, Vichitravirya, became the king. Because the etiquette was the king should at least have eyes. So, and here Vidura is pointing out that with age, even the hearing has become poor. We see that birth, death, disease, old age don't spare anyone, am I right? You accept the fact, whether you live in a poor country or a rich country, the death rate is what percentage? 100%. It's not that we live in a rich country, the death rate is 90%. If you live in a poor country, it's 100%. It reminds me that once our former Acharya Srila Prabhupada was giving a press conference in Boston in the early 70s or late 60s. And one American press reporter asked him, he said, what are you going to teach us? You come from an impoverished country, India. I mean, these days India's image has gone up, but in the late 60s, India's image was that of a beggar country, isn't it? So he said, what are you going to teach us? You come from an impoverished beggar country. We are the first hope. I mean, America especially is a lot humbler now than it was in the early 70s. They've been forced to become humble. So anyway, so he said, what are you going to teach us? You come from a poor country and we are the superpowers of the world. So what are you going to teach us? So Prabhupada said, you may be the superpower and I may be from a poor country, but there's one thing common to both your country and my country. So the journalists were very curious. What is it? What's common to both the countries? Prabhupada said the death rate in both countries is 100%. So the point is, whether you live in an advanced country or a third world country, the death rate is 100%, isn't it? Not only the death rate 100%, the old age affects us in a variety of ways. What modern science does is, it tries to avoid the appearance of old age. It tries to cover up the symptoms of old age, hide the symptoms of old age. Just like they have in anti-aging shops. They had one in Toronto right opposite. Is it still there or it's gone? I know it was there last 2 years. Is it still there? It's still there? So they have these anti-aging shops in the Western world now. I'm sure they'll catch on in India. Anything that starts in the West catches on. So what do they have in these anti-aging shops? They have all the paraphernalia you need to hide the appearance of old age. Just like here, Vidura says, you have become hard of hearing. So many people have become hard of hearing these days. But these days they have sophisticated hearing aids. So you can't really judge that someone's hard of hearing. At one time they used to have these, big hearing aids, they used to put so you could, even a blind man could see the man's step. We used to have this big hearing aids. Now they've gone very sophisticated and they have super tiny hearing aids. Just like at one time we had big box telephones, now we have these tiny cell phone telephones. Somebody sent me a present from China of a telephone. Oh boy, it's really a drawing room telephone. It's so tiny, even tinier than what Nokia and Samsung you see in the market. And it's so delicate, so artistically produced. So, if you become hard of hearing, they try to put hearing aid. And now they have these small hearing aids. You can even put on the back of your glasses, that no one can even see so easily. Then he says, your memory is shortened. So our memories also get weakened with the passage of age. Our hearing gets weak. Our hair begins to turn white. When your hair begins to turn white, what do people do? Dye. You can have about 20, 25 colors to choose from. Then people begin to get bald. That's another symptom of old age. But now they have this technology by which a bald man can have a nice wig. You won't even know you're bald. It's a wig. They have very sophisticated wigs, isn't it? Then another symptom of old age is your cheeks begin to get wrinkled, isn't it? Am I right? So when your cheeks get wrinkled, what happens? All they have to do is some cosmetic surgery. They can hide the wrinkles on your cheeks. Then another symptom of old age is your teeth begin to fall. That's no problem too. We'll give you artificial teeth. You can choose from 32 shades which one you want. You go to a dentist, he'll give you about 32, 35 shades from which you can choose what color you want. So they have all these devices to avoid the appearance of old age. But how long can you buy? It's like they say in English, buying time. So you can buy some time, But how long? Can you avoid it for long? At best, you can avoid the appearance of old age for a period of time, but you can't permanently stall it. If you could stall it, then whoever can stall it will become really a multi-millionaire. Just like about 25 years ago, there was a certain expectation that the medicines that they produce on this early planet are not so good. Now they're going to produce medicine in outer space. So NASA in America was giving licenses to companies to produce medicine in outer space. They felt that those medicines would be more effective. But it doesn't matter whether you use an American drug or an Indian drug. Medicines only have a limited role to play. They have a limited ability. So, birth and disease, old age, do not spare anyone. And one who's intelligent can see that these symptoms of disease, old age, are almost insurmountable. Doesn't matter whether you're born in a pauper family or a rich man's family, these symptoms are there for everyone. So Vidura went to his brother and said, your memory is shortened and your intelligence is also disturbed. As we get old age, our mind and intelligence get disturbed. Day by day, our bodily inconveniences are increased, isn't it? I'm sure all of you here are getting old day by day, or are you getting younger day by day? Are you getting older or younger? So we're all getting old day by day, isn't it? And we can see day by day what the ailments are increasing, am I right? And he said your teeth are loose. Our teeth also get loose as we get older, they begin to fall off. Your liver is defective and you're coughing up more mucus. In other words, Vidura was pointing out to his brother that you are not thinking that at last you have become a king. You are now thinking you have a very comfortable place to live in. Don't you see? The symptoms of old age have already appeared. And death is going to strike at any time. And instead of preparing yourself spiritually, you are living at the cost of those that you tried to kill. So the nature of a saintly personality is that he always tries to wake people up to the spiritual reality. One of the main focuses of this Krishna conscious movement is to enlighten people, to educate people. We are not just a society which worships the deity, rings some bells. No, we are an educational society that enables to enlighten people in different aspects of philosophy. Just like over here we see that Vidura is enlightening his brother. And as a result of the association of his brother Vidura, as a result of the sharp words spoken by his brother, Dhritarashtra, and say, yes, you're right what I'm doing, what you're saying. And left his comfortable palace to head towards the mountain to practice meditation. So we need to be woken up and reminded we need to have spiritual association. Spiritual association is known as sadhu sangha. Sangha means association. Sadhu means a spiritual personality. One tragedy of today's society is we don't have the ability or the criteria to recognize who is a genuine sadhu and who is not a genuine sadhu. Who is a genuine spiritual personality and who is not a genuine spiritual personality. We need to know that. Who is a genuine spiritual personality? A genuine sadhu must base his life based on the Shastras. Unfortunately, there are a class of people today who believe the Shastras are outdated. But the Shastras can never be outdated because they contain the words of God that is also identified as Sanatana Dharma, or eternal knowledge for the entire humanity. The Bhagavad Gita, the Bhagavatam, they contain eternal wisdom for the benefit of entire humanity. Now, the Shastras tell us, wake up. There's a nice bhajan composed by a great Vaishnava sage, Thakur Bhaktivinoda. He says, Jeev Jago, Gora Chanda Bole. What does Jeev Jago mean? Conditioned soul, get up. So that is what a spiritual personality does. Just like a child is sleeping, snoring, the mother goes, get up, time to go to school, you're getting late. You do that to your children? The children say, no, let me sleep, come on, it's too early. And then he says, no, the school bus is coming, you have to get up, you're getting late. So that's what a spiritual personality does. It goes to house, and he endeavors to make people realize that don't waste this valuable human life. It is said that if we pursue a life independent of scriptures, then it's just like drinking poison. One great sage has prayed, Hari Janma, Manusya Janma Paya, Radha Krishna Bhajya, Janya Shunya 𝐃𝐲𝐿𝐿. I got this very human birth, but I did not worship Radha and Krishna. So, I have just been drinking poison uselessly. Now, all of you sitting here have some interest in spirituality, therefore you're here. Some of you are initiated devotees, some of you are chanting 16 rounds, some of you may be chanting 1 or 2 rounds, some of you may not be chanting even 1 round. But do you know what Krishna says and what ISKCON is presenting is the real thing? And therefore you come to the temple. There are so many temples in Toronto, but generally those people come to ISKCON, those who have some interest in the path of Bhakti Yoga. Because everyone who comes to ISKCON knows over here the atmosphere is focused on spirituality, not on social activities. And those who come here have interest in spiritual life. That is why they come here. So, Vedanta, the scriptures say, now you've got this human life, which is obtained after a long struggle, just like in mature life. If you get something with great difficulty, don't you cherish it? You cherish it. So therefore, Thakur Bhaktivinoda says, O conditioned soul, you have been passing from one body to another since time immemorial. Now you've got this human life. Please cultivate spirituality. Now, how do we cultivate spirituality? That's another question. And we cultivate spirituality by chanting the holy names of the Lord. It is said in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 4 things should be done by everyone. We had touched on this verse in the morning class. One is hearing, glorifying, remembering, and worshipping. We hear the glories of the Lord. We recite the glories of the Lord. We remember the instructions of the Lord, and we worship the form of the Lord. Hearing and chanting is the key to spiritual advancement. It is said that the Lord incarnates in His holy name. In the Srimad Bhagavatam we read that Parikshit Maharaj inquired from GKG Goswami, how will people in Kali-yuga be saved? And GKG Goswami was a self-realized soul, the son of Vyasadeva. And GKG Goswami said, Kali-yuga is an ocean of vice. In Kali-yuga, if you look around, everywhere there's a natural call for what? For sense enjoyment or forgetting. But there is one benediction in this age, that is the chanting of the holy names of Krishna. So this chanting of the holy names of Krishna is non-different from Krishna. And this chanting of the holy name can be done by everyone, even by a dog. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is described to be an incarnation of Godhead. Once he was passing through a forest, and he made even the elephants and the jackals, tigers, chant and dance. Of course, we are not as powerful as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. All we can do is endeavor to get the human beings to chant. But this chanting can be done by anyone. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had predicted, Priti Vidayachika the Nagaradigram, Sarvata Prachara Oive Moranam. He said, as many towns and villages in the world there are, my holy name will be sung. So the Lord has given us how many tongues? We only have one tongue. And how many years? So the Lord has given us one tongue in 2 years. Actually, there's a very nice statement by Rupa Goswami. He said, my dear Lord, your glories are unlimited. Your fame is unlimited. The transcendental attributes are unlimited. Please may I have thousands of tongues and thousands of years to fully glorify you. So what did he pray for? Thousands of tongues and thousands. But imagine we had thousands of tongues, and we told you chant 100 Hare Krishna with all 1,000 tongues. You probably wouldn't be able to do it. So we are lucky that you only have one tongue and how many years? 2 years. The great sages have given us the following example. They say a frog croaks, menda, can. Those that live near Bombay and all, they have experience of frogs. And the frog, it croaks, it sends a signal to the snake. This is where I am. And the snake comes and bites the frog. So with this tongue, we have 2 alternatives. One is we can just do mundane talk. The other is we can do spiritual talk. Mundane talk is called prajalpa, and the great sages have said mundane talk is destructive. And in comparison to, as opposed to mundane talk, you have spiritual talk that is known as Krishna Katha. So this chanting of the holy name is all auspicious. Now, someone may say, if I chant the holy name, what will I get? It's a common question that we get asked by people all over the world. Okay, I'll chant, okay? Now, what am I going to get in exchange? Am I going to become Bill Gates tomorrow? You may, we don't rule that out. But anyway, what are some of the benefits of chanting a holy name? One benefit of chanting the holy name is your heart becomes cleansed of material misgivings, like lust, anger, greed, envy, hatred, etc. And then the advantage of chanting the holy name is that you become free from the cycle of birth and death. Another advantage is you experience unending spiritual happiness. You become abhay, free of fear. We all lead a life of fear. But by chanting the holy name, you become free of fear. Do you want to become free of fear? Anyone? To chant the holy name, we want to become free of fear. So one thing we do is increase our bank balance. We think the money will save me from all anxiety. Then in some countries they have heavy security, like in India, Africa. Then in some countries they'll spend a lot of armaments to make a different country very strong. But you can do all this no problem. But if you chant the holy name, then you feel like a child feels when he's holding his father's hand. But if a small child is holding his father's hand, and even if you drop a bomb, he won't get scared, isn't it? So this chanting the holy name takes away the element of fear. This chanting the holy name makes you content. This chanting the holy name gives you ultimately love of God. And the Lord has given you a time in 2 years, isn't it? So why not chant? And Lord Chaitanya said, there's no hard and fast rule for chanting the holy names. You can chant it at any time. So, chanting the holy name. Then Lord Chaitanya also recommends that we should study the Bhagavatam and the Gita. Earlier I was telling you the importance of reading these books. Read these books regularly. I'm sure everyone sitting here is educated enough to be able to read. So read these books and take advantage of sadhu sangha. The Prabhupada started the ISKCON society with the purpose of saving humanity. So we have various programs. Every Sunday there's a program. Every Saturday there's a program like today. And then they have a program during the week in people's homes and so on. Take advantage. We work in an environment where you're associating with people who make you forget God. So to counter that, you need association of people who remind you about God. So take advantage of this association. So by these very simple activities, you can, staying where you are, make spiritual progress. We should not forget human life is obtained as a long evolutionary cycle, and the purpose is to develop love of God. Many times we say, okay, that is what Swami is saying is right, what Shastra is saying is right, I am going to do that, but not today, tomorrow. And we keep saying tomorrow, tomorrow, tomorrow. Our spiritual master used to tell a story, Jagannath Puri temple in Orissa, from the whole world people go there to have darshan of Lord Jagannath. There was one local man, he used to bring water every day to the Jagannath Puri temple. And every day he would say, I will leave the water at the doorstep, there's a big line, so let the other people have darshan and I'll have darshan tomorrow. So he went on saying tomorrow, tomorrow in Hindi, they say kal, kal, kal. And what happened eventually, before kal came, something else came. What's that? Kal came then. So we keep postponing, okay, I'll chant, I'll definitely chant, but tomorrow. Tomorrow comes, we do day after. So an auspicious thing should not be postponed. The faster it's developed, the better it is. And what the chanting Krishna consciousness means, the process where you cleanse the consciousness, cleanse your heart, and mature misgiving. So take to this process. This process can be taken up by everyone. And as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Ananda Buddhi Vardhanam. A great sage, Maharaja said that people do not know how real happiness can be found. real hunters can be found if we take shelter of the holy name. Unfortunately, in today's environment, we have more faith in our own material intelligence than in the words of God. What Krishna conscious movement is preaching is the words of God, and by spiritual association, even the most contaminated can get cleared. Once Narada Muni was passing through a forest where he saw many half-killed animals. There was a hunter called Mrigari who was very fearful, who was very much feared. And this hunter would half-kill animals, see them suffer, and then when they would die, he would say, ha ha ha, kill one more animal, and he would rejoice. So, Narada Muni saw these half-killed animals, and he said, who is responsible for half-killing them? The hunter had hidden behind the bushes when he saw Narada Muni coming. So when he saw Narada Muni there, he said, I am the cause. So the Narada Muni said, why don't you fully kill them? Why do you half kill them? Anyway, the hunter realized by Narada Muni's grace that this killing was very sinful. And he said, you know, for all the animals you killed, they'll take revenge and kill you. So the hunter said, but this is my family profession. We kill animals and sell them. This is hereditary. Anyway, when Narada Muni's association, he got so purified that he gave up his killing them. He was concerned how he maintain himself if he gave up this profession. But the word spread around that this cruel hunter has become a devotee. So people were coming from great distance to see him, and they would all bring gifts, and they were all bringing him gifts, presents to see him, because no one sees a spiritual personality empty-handed. And this hunter saw that all his needs were taken care of. So, spiritual association is a must. There are very often people think, well, I'm so busy in North America. But if you want to find time, you can find time. So I'm very grateful that all of you have come. And we also have to thank the Bhakti Rickshaw participants. So we'll stop here. Thank you very much. All right.